Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. And in this video, first off, as you can see, there's a lot of changes to the computer room, isn't there? For the most part, I spent a little bit of time over the past few weeks, not the whole time the past few weeks I haven't been recording or making content, because most of it was we decided to finally tackle my wife's home office and get it set up, which is a whole vlog in itself with networking stuff and headaches and such, which also involved clearing out a spare storage room that we basically dubbed the we'll get to it room, and we finally, after about 10 years of living in the house, finally got to it, and you can just imagine how that went. But yeah, as you can see, I spent quite a bit of time moving some stuff around, reorganizing stuff, shuffling stuff around, removing things from the computer room here in order to add things to the computer room, which makes it a lot more cohesive and organized. And well, you'll see here in a bit anyway, because the main focus of this video is something that's not directly involving these computers directly, but actually something that, well, kind of changes some plans as to what I probably won't ever have in the computer room here. So for new viewers and returning viewers, as we look around my computer room here, you'll see that I have, yes, a variety of computers, but most of them are all, well, garden variety machines that would be easily seen in a home environment. And yes, some of them would have been seen in a business environment as well with the Apple II and the IBMs here. But for the most part, these are all common garden variety home computers. And that was my original goal when I started collecting a lot of these old machines, was I kind of wanted to have set up in some way the evolution of home computers. And originally, yes, it was all going to be x86 because I never anticipated coming across things like the 2GS, the Amiga, and the Apple II here. The original goal was to have for the most part, a evolution of the different eras and CPU types of what could have been seen in the average home. For example, on the x86 line, I have, for the most part, most of the major types. With the Intel 8088, I have the 5150 and the 5160 here. For the evolution of that, the 888-2, I have the Tandy HX. For the NEC V20, which was a much needed upgrade to the 888 class, I have my Turbo XT here. And even though I'm missing the 8186, because those are almost impossible to find, I do have an example of the 8086, and I have an example of the 8286. I have plans to build a 386. I've built a 486. I have most of the eras of Pentiums, minus the Pentium Pro Socket 8. I would love to get my hands on one of those. And I also have an early example of the Core 2 series and the Core I series, not to mention their AMD counterparts with AM1, 2, and 3. And as time's gone on, I've also obviously come across some of the non-x86 stuff. I have a representative of the 6502 class CPUs with the Commodore 64 here, and my Apple IIs. I have an example of the 16-bit variant of the 6502 with the Apple II GS. I have an example of the Z80 with the TRS-80, and I have examples of the Motorola 68000 series with the Amiga 500 and my Macintosh Classic, which is a compact Mac, and the Macintosh SE30 if I can get it working. So for the most part, like I said, I have most of the different CPU types and eras when it comes to home computing. But there is one computer type I would absolutely love to have in my collection, and I almost would have had my hands on one if it wasn't for me basically being told that it was well out of the range of what it should be asked for. So you're probably thinking, well, wait, what kind of computer could you possibly be talking about that you need to get your hands on? You have all these iconic machines for home education and business machines. What kind of computer could you possibly need to get your hands on? Well, it's not a need to get my hands on, but I would really love to have one in my collection if I could ever find one. And it's actually not a traditional style computer. The type of computer I would like to get my hands on is any of the large scale integrated backplane based, basically mainframe style computers. Yes, things like the PDP-11, the PDP-8, things from DEC, VAX, the HP-85, the Texas Instruments TI-990 and the 980. I would love to be able to play with one of these machines, because these are a type of computer that that even the average person probably would never even experience in their lifetime unless they go to a specialized museum. And just like a lot of these machines, most people my age have probably never even messed with most of these because, well, we're either after this time or a lot of my generation just doesn't seem to care about some of these machines. I just really like the idea of being able to get hands-on with the hardware that these machines are based on. And it's the same reason as to why I started collecting all of these things. Yes, I could emulate any one of these on my main computer upstairs and not even bother with any of this hardware down here. And just like those machines, the PDP-11, the PDP-8, the DEC, the VAX machines, they can be emulated pretty easily on modern machines and avoid all the headaches that would accompany them. You know, using floppies, using cassettes. It's just something hands-on and fun because it's a type of computer that realistically, well, not only would I have never messed with one in person, but a lot of people never get the chance to. And unfortunately though, a lot of that hardware gear and kit are extremely expensive just because of the fact that, you know, these machines can be expensive too, but the PDP-11 and PDP-8 and those backplane style computers, they can hit absurd amounts of money, which is why I always assumed, and I pretty much can guarantee I'll probably never come across one or get my hands on one. Because my whole goal is I would just love to play with it. I have a terminal back there on the other side of my Tandy 1000 RLX that I absolutely would love to use with an actual computer. Yes, I could hook up one of these, but I think it'd be really fun to play with something like a PDP. And the whole idea of finding some machine like this, I'll admit, came from watching Usagi Electric. Watching him restore some of these machines and get them working and mess with them in a way that just boggles my mind to see these things work. Watching 14-inch platter hard drives spin up, watching them type in commands that are just so far away from DOS, it's not even funny. Watching AJ Forgotten Machines get some of these machines working, and another guy's hard to follow too, Charles at Retro Computing Ranch, watching these guys get these machines working is just really cool and neat. And I would absolutely love to, you know, join these guys in getting these things working and playing with them a little bit, learning hands-on with some of the hardware and the software with them. It was always something on the back burner of my mind, but now that I have a computer room and a space to have these things, I thought it'd be kind of neat to kind of find one. I just wasn't aware of how expensive some of these things can be. Regardless of that, I actually almost came across one, which kind of goes into the I'm not mad, I'm just a little bit annoyed about the situation that happened. So as I was scrolling on my local Facebook marketplace, which by the way, rant on this, it was neat in this case anyway, but for the most part, Facebook, if I wanted to see eBay listings, I would go to eBay. Don't fill up my marketplace feed with eBay listings that get me excited for something. Click on it and it turns out to be an eBay listing that's super far away, because a lot of times it doesn't say it's on eBay, it's just, you know, it's something I'm looking for. Either way, I was looking on the Facebook marketplace and I saw a listing for a PDP-11. So anyway, I clicked on the listing for this PDP-11 and I didn't see the price at first, not right away, but it was basically a really simple bare bones PDP-11. And when I did a little bit of research on it, it was basically the equivalency of like an IBM 5150 here or an bare bones Apple II. There was really very few, if any, expansion cards, and it was missing a few pieces. And I kind of figured, hey, if I could get it cheap, it might be something I could play with, learn with. Maybe I could talk to some guys who hoard some of these boards. I could probably get it working and just learn with it. Now, I'm not gonna say the price of what I wanted for it because I don't want anyone to try and track down on eBay and criticize this guy too much. But I decided to message him anyway, and I decided to ask him if he knew anything about it. Because most of the time when I see things like this on eBay or the marketplace, they find it in somebody's attic or their basement, or they pick it up from an estate sale or a storage auction. They have no idea what it is, and they just post it thinking they're, you know, they're just not sure of a number, so they just throw a number up there. So I asked him if he knew anything about it, where he got it, if it worked. And during the conversation, no idea if it worked because it had no power supply. It had nothing. It was just the front panel, the back plane, maybe one, maybe two cards, the cover chassis for it. It wasn't even a full PDP-11 technically. It was just the main compute unit and it was missing a lot of pieces. So I decided to go onto Usagi Electric's Discord and ask about it. Like, hey, is the price he's asking a good price for it, or is he kind of out of his gourd on this one? Because my thought process was he either was asking way too much for it and it wasn't worth that much, and he saw a listing of something similar, you know, named, and just went with the price he saw, or he was asking way too little for it because it might have been super valuable. Because I've seen some of the numbers that a lot of these collectors throw out when they say they buy some of these PDP and DEC and VAC stuff, and the numbers just make me cringe a little bit about how much these guys are spending on these backplane style systems. And quickly I was basically told to walk away from it because the guy was asking far too much. I'm not going to say the order of magnitude of what he was asking for it, but basically I would have insulted him if I would have thrown out an offer. I was basically told to offer this guy no more than $100. because with it missing the power supply and several cards, and these type of machines, it's not like a standard computer where you can just plug in a monitor and a keyboard and it'll do something. And the reason why, the reason for that is because you need a card for input output to get, not just get a display, but also to type it on a keyboard. So you would need a card to control the terminal. You'd also need a card for the RAM, a card for the CPU. And it depends on the model. You might actually also need a card for the boot ROM to even have it do anything. And because it was missing so many parts, I was basically told I would need so many parts just to even see it do anything. And by that point, I would be sunk into it several hundred, if not a couple $1,000s. Now, obviously, I didn't buy it, but I decided to message him back anyway and just kind of tell him, hey, I was talking to some people who actually collect these things and are uber knowledgeable about these kind of things. And I kind of showed him a few pictures and told him what it came with, it didn't come with, what it was missing, to get a good price of what I could offer, because he did say, or best offer. And I basically told him that, hey, unfortunately, any number I could throw at you would just insult you, so I'm going to have to pass. And basically he messaged back saying, well, then he'll wait for a real collector who actually knows that it's worth this to actually buy it. Which, very passive aggressive way of saying something, and since the time we're recording this, it has sold. So somebody actually did buy it for what he was asking for it, which I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but considering that several of the guys I talked to on Discord basically said I wouldn't even offer $100 for it, hopefully whoever bought it knows what they're getting into. So unfortunately, that dashed my dreams of having a PDP style machine down here that I could learn on, make videos, interact with, get advice from you guys about how to get it to work and that kind of stuff. It'd been a really fun little learning experience. So I kind of shoved it off onto the back burner until I came across this monstrosity. Look at this. It is a backplane style CPU card for a large scale integrated style machine. Kinda. And you may be wondering, well, hey, why aren't you showing this thing powered up or something, or diagnosing it, or where is it down here? Because it's not down here. I need to explain this real quick. So I went to a business that I've talked to before. There's actually several computers and terminals that I need to get from the attic of this place. But this business it's one of the longest running businesses in my hometown. And they're also housed in one of the oldest surviving buildings in the hometown as well. The building is easily 100 years old. It's a giant brick building. And I decided to talk to the owner and I said, hey, I've been here before. There was a couple computers upstairs I never got. I said, is there any way I can get back up there and see how much is left up there I need to get? And also, I'm trying to see if you know of any computers that would use a backplane. I kind of tried to explain what these computers were I'm looking for. And he said, well, I don't think there's anything like that here, but there is a couple weird old machines that's upstairs if you want to go take a look. So me and an employee did. And I don't know how I missed these before. But sitting up there on about the third floor was a massive IBM, I think it was a 5225 printer. This printer would not fit in this room. It is massive. In fact, it wouldn't even fit in the back of my truck. It's a massive freaking printer. And this got me excited because, well, if there's something like this here, there's got to be something as to what I'm looking for here. So I came across one of these machines that was sitting in the back corner on a pallet. And that should tell you about how big this machine is. It's about the size of about 2 washing machines side by side. And when I opened up the main case, I saw a backplane and cards. There was a CPU card, an ALU card, and another card as well. It powered by 8-inch floppies, which is perfect. It's exactly what I was looking for. So I decided to pull the cards and see if anybody knew what these were. Maybe it was a PDP, maybe it was a DEC, VAX, HP, Texas Instruments, who knew, right? Well, that's the bit of the problem. I posted these on Usagi Electric's Discord because if anybody could figure out what these are and tell me what they could be, it'd be somebody on his Discord, right? The general consensus is these are not standard backplane boards. They seem to use a dual S100 card edge, which is, as far as people can tell, not very commonly used, and also in this regard, probably stupidly proprietary. And if you want to know how proprietary, I tried to look up what one of these machines were. On the front of it was called Ransburg Cybotech, and it had a part number. Now, I don't remember the part number off the top of my head, but I decided to do a little bit of research with this company. I was encouraged to do some more research by Charles at Retro Computing Ranch, by David at Usagi Electric, and AJ at Forgotten Machines. These three guys were This conversation kind of got brought up when they were doing the working vacation in which they helped Usagi rearrange his computer room, oddly enough. And basically from what the general consensus is, I needed to find some more information on the machine and talk to the gentleman and see what he wanted to do with them. Unfortunately, the only information I could find about this Ransberg Cybotech device was basically from piecing very little information together online. So Ransberg, which is the first part of the name, I Googled, and if it's the same company I was able to find some information on, the company's still around, and they do a lot of, well, painting, electrostatic painting, powder coating, enamel painting, solvent-based painting. Basically, they build a lot of painting machines. Cybotech was a Japanese company that did a lot of industrial-based automations. So putting two and two together, the machine this came out of was a programmable, automated, electrostatic, or some sort of painting system. And I think that's exactly what it was, because right next to this machine was a tower that was about 8 foot tall with pressure gauges, hoses, valves, switches that all said things like solvent flush, solvent flow, paint flow. So I'm pretty confident that it was a programmable painting system. The problem is I can't find any reference to these boards anywhere. I've tried Googling the part numbers. I've tried Googling model numbers. I've tried Googling the model number of the backplanes. I have a picture of that. And unfortunately, the only hit I got was a picture of the CPU board from a company that actually repairs these boards. And unfortunately, it's just one of those things that I'm not gonna call a random company and say, hey, what company sends you these boards to repair? I need to ask them a question, because that just brings up a whole can of worms that I don't want involved with. So I'm still going to go talk to the gentleman and see what he wants to do with these machines. If they're just scrap, I might take some tools and rip the backplane, the floppy drives, the cards, and take as many pictures as I can about the power supplies, and maybe see if these can be made generalized, like maybe use it as a general CPM or whatever type of machine, since it does have 8-inch floppies. But if it's a thing where he's going to want any money for these things above scrap price, because they've been sitting up there for probably 30 years, unfortunately, it's probably going to be more like a thing that we're probably going to put the boards back and just leave them up there, because I have no idea what they are, and a lot of people on Discord have no idea what it is either, unless we could have reverse engineer it. And with it possibly being a multi-layer PCB, there's a good chance that it probably won't be able to be reverse engineered any meaning of the word easily. So unfortunately, my dreams of having a backplane based computer to play with a terminal as a display and input are dashed. Temporarily anyway. I mean, yes, there's things like the RC 2014, and there's things like the S100 clones, and there's other projects like that out there, which I have no problem trying one of those as well. I would love to actually do something like that and get something to work. That's just, I have to just see how far I want to go with it. Because my whole idea for this is I just want a basic backplane based computer. Basically just a basic CPU, a little bit of RAM, input output, some sort of storage so I can play around with, and an operating system that I can just goof around with, play with, try some things out. Just little piddly stuff. Not to go anything extreme like an Apple II here and trying to max it out with a bunch of RAM, C80 cards, SD card emulator, or things like the 5170 and 60 here by trying to make it a gaming machine. Just a computer that I can try and learn on, that's hardware and software that I probably in most cases would never ever get to learn. So I am going to put this out there, probably the only time I'm going to put this out there. If there's any of you guys out there that collect or hoard PDP, DEC, VAX, S100, whatever, any of that backplane stuff that you have your buckets and bins and boxes of boards that you'll probably never likely use, that could be used to just mix and match and put together a simple little computer in a little small chassis that could be home built, that I can use to just play around with a terminal and some operating system stuff, maybe some floppies. Head me up in my emails and maybe we can work something out. Obviously, eBay level pricing is far out of the range of my possibility right now, especially with things going on out there, but well, we'll just have to see. Regardless, that being said, thank you all so much for watching this kind of a weird, rambly talking video. It's something that I just needed to record and get out so I had some content because I haven't been able to do stuff for the past few weeks. If you know of any information about what the heck this board here could be, please let me know, because I am dying to find out. If you're a guy that has a bunch of PV, S100, whatever backplane boards and stuff, and you're probably never gonna use it or utilize it, hit me up and maybe we can work out something so that I could experiment and play with one of these old systems that I'll probably never usually get my hands on. And that being said, thank you all so much for watching this really weird rambling video. And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.